More than 100,000 immigration hearings could be canceled this month because of the government shutdown. That's according to a study conducted by Syracuse University. New reporting on CBSNews.com looks at the growing number of cancellations. Most immigration courts have closed because of the shutdown, and over 40,000 hearings have already been canceled. Some of those could take years to be rescheduled. Kate Smith joins us now to discuss her new reporting on CBSNews.com. Kate, welcome. Great to have you with us. Great reporting on this. You know, it's somewhat of an unintended consequence here that the president has pushed for border security and deporting as many, undocumented immigrants as possible, and yet now very few are getting deported because the courts have closed, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole irony of it all, is that the whole government shutdown is over border security, over this border wall, and yet the easiest way to deport someone, the immigration courts, they're all closed.
So how is this delay exactly, affecting the hearings and the deportations? Walk us through exactly how it works.
Absolutely. So once the government shut down, because the immigration court system, they're not fee-based. So they don't have any of their own funding except for federal funding. So they all closed. I should say about 95% of immigration hearings were closed. They were canceled. I should also mention that immigration attorneys, and more importantly, their clients, had no advance notice about this. So they had to kind of call in, they had to just show up and see if it was open, and they also haven't gotten any sort of guideline since, so they just kind of are waiting in the limbo, watching news,
and
trying to figure out.
You've interviewed many of these attorneys. What are they saying about the long-term impact of this? Because it was my understanding that there already was a huge backlog with many of these cases.
That's absolutely right. So prior to the entire shutdown, there was already an 800,000 case backlog, immigration hearing backlog, and that's a record high. It spiked when President Trump took office. It increased by about 50% since that January of 2017. And now, if the government shutdown goes through this month, you're looking at 100,000 extra cases added to that backlog. And by the way, we can't operate with a backlog of that size. It is already stressed to the point of dysfunction. So you can only imagine what another 100,000, 12.5%, what that's going to do.
And didn't some of these, undocumented immigrants wait years to get these court appointments?
Absolutely. On average, they probably waited 2 to 3 years. But I was speaking to this one immigration attorney in Miami, and she was saying that she had a client who had waited 13 years.
Oh, my goodness. And there's no word on then whether they will be rescheduled. They're just told it's not happening.
I mean, they're not even told it's not happening. They're left to assume it's not happening.
Oh, my goodness. And so I guess then you've got a pool of people who are going to continue to, use government services or somehow continue to be a drain on society, if that's the way you look at it, until the government reopens.
Absolutely. And again, that's another irony of the government shutdown, closing the immigration courts. If you believe that certain immigrants take advantage of welfare programs, they're a drain to government programs and subsidies, well, you just gave them an extra 2 to 3 years using those programs because now you can't deport them.
And so what is the protocol now with these canceled cases? Will they go to the back of the line? Is that how it works? Or is it kind of all over the place depending on who gets called in?
Well, because the government's still shut down, we have no idea.
Right.
But I was speaking to a lot of immigration attorneys, and they've dealt with government shutdowns before.
Sure.
And so they said what typically happens is they go to the back of the line, because you also have to remember whoever's hearing already, they've waited how long, and you can't bump them.
Sure.
So there's really nothing you can do.
Kind of sounds like a big mess.
I think that's a good way to characterize it.
Kate Smith, thank you so much for coming to talk to us.